Hi everybody, welcome to the Little League E-Training Series. My name is Nick Caringi. I'm the Senior Director of Operations and Education for Little League Baseball and Softball. Today's session is an overview of Regulation 4H. In studio today is Sam Rank, our League Development Manager. Sam will review the form with us. Sam?
Thanks, Nick. Today we're going to take a look at Regulation 4H. Regulation 4H allows a player to participate in a league while not residing in that league's boundaries, provided certain criteria are met. Today, we'll take a closer look at those criteria, as well as discuss the waiver process that must be completed to allow a player to be retained by a league under Regulation 4H. Let's start by taking a closer look at the criteria that need to be met in order for a player to be claimed on a Regulation 4H waiver. If a player's parent previously lived within the league's boundaries for 2 years, while serving as a dedicated coach, manager, or board member for a minimum of 2 years, his or her son or daughter may try out and be selected to a team in that league, provided the following criteria are met. The player's parent must have continued such service to that league even after moving outside of that league's boundaries. The player must also be released by the league in which he or she currently resides. If those criteria are met, the league president must present the district administrator with supporting residency documentation for the district administrator to review. He or she must then sign off, verifying that the documentation meets the requirements for the player to be claimed on a Regulation 4H waiver. The league must maintain the Regulation 4H waiver form and documentation for the duration of the player's career. Next, let's take a look at the Regulation 4H waiver form, which must be completed if a player meets the requirements of Regulation 4H. The first section of the Regulation 4H form is where the league will enter the league's information, as well as information about the division of play and the level of play in which the player will be participating. To enter the league information, the league must enter the current date, as well as their league name and league ID number. Please also enter the current information for the league president, as well as the address at which the league is located. Next on this section of the form, you will see an area to select whether the player will be participating in the baseball or softball division of play. Please select the appropriate division and then select the level of play at which the player will be participating. You will also find on the top part of the Regulation 4H form the complete definition of Regulation 4H, which must be met in order for a player to be claimed under this waiver. Once you've entered the league's information on the Regulation 4H form, next you will enter information about the player and the player's parents' former residence within the league's boundaries. To start out with, list the player's name. Once the player's name has been listed, you will then complete an agreement which states that the parents of the player previously lived within the league's boundaries and served as a manager, coach, or board member for 2 or more years within the league's boundaries. You will need to list the parent's former address, which must fall within the league's boundaries, as well as their years of service while they lived within the league's boundaries. Those years of service must be continuous. Once you've completed that portion of the form, next, you will complete an agreement stating that the parent of the player has continued their service to the league even after they've moved outside of the league's boundaries. You also list the years of service that they've completed with the league since moving outside of the league's boundaries. To complete the Regulation 4H form, a release from the league in which the player currently resides is necessary. This release needs to be verified by having the league president of the league in which the player currently resides sign the Regulation 4H waiver form on the bottom portion of the form. Once this release has been completed, you will need to have the form signed by your league president as well as your district administrator. Let's take a look at the processing procedure for a Regulation 4H form. The league president needs to complete the form and verify that the player being claimed does indeed meet the conditions of Regulation 4H. Once he verifies this information, the league president must compile residency documentation from the parent's previous residence within the league boundaries. Once all this information is compiled by the league president, the district administrator must verify that all the documentation submitted meets the requirements of Regulation 4H. Once the district administrator has verified the information, the league must maintain a copy of the form and documentation for the duration of the player's career. The league should also provide a copy of the form and documentation to the parent. If the player is selected to a tournament team, the form and all supporting residency documentation must be carried with the player in the tournament packet. That concludes today's discussion of Regulation 4H. If you have any questions about this regulation, please contact Little League headquarters or your respective regional office. Let's send it back to Nick.
Thanks, Sam. Well, that will do it for Regulation 4H. From all of us here at the Little League Studios in Williamsport, Pennsylvania, especially Chris Downs and the rest of the Communications Department, I'm Nick Caringi. Thanks for watching.